Now we're going to be calling another case, which is from ELO Cards, the first Brazilian brand with open APIs. And I would like to call to the stage David Ruiz, Innovation Manager. Such a pleasure to have you here. Good afternoon. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today. First of all, good afternoon. I'm Davi. I work on the Innovation Manager and Big Data from ELO, taking a look from the IT perspective and sharing how was this journey of coming from an idea to build up the whole APIs platform from scratch, to the final production in 9 months. ELO is a company that's 100% Brazilian. It was born in 2011 by 3 of the biggest banks. And it has in its DNA to give value to Brazil and to Brazilians. And in 2017, we got 2.5 billion in transactions, and we became 3rd on the national ranking. Our main pillars is to retain and develop technology here in Brazil. We are the first brand that has its own chip in the cards. And last year, we launched our token service that's operated here in São Paulo. And now we are launching the platform, the API platform. So that was a very important step. Before we designed the platform, we tried to understand the need of the developers. So we needed to have a platform that would facilitate the implementation of the APIs with a rich and easy-to-use dashboard and platform. We created a direct channel with the developers, and from that on, we developed and created new APIs and new functionalities. We've done all of that in less than a year, work with national partners and giving value to our local talent. And we know all of this is just the first step, and we have a long road to go. But we are sure that together we're going to make it, and we're going to make it happen. Great. So you can just imagine the impact that happened inside of ELO. That was a project that started from the engagement of the president and the whole company. Because when we talk about digital transformation and API Force, it's not only one department project. And what motivates us to work with our API exposition is to create new experience for our cardholder, for the customer that has a ELO card. For that, our main objective is to get connected not only with companies, doesn't matter how big they are, and especially startups, but to have those companies that are going to help us to create those experiences from the cardholder with the retail stores. And we have to feed in this chain the credit companies, the facilitators. And something that's really important for us, especially for being a 100% Brazilian brand, is to create and to retain technology in Brazil. So when we talk about API, when we take a look at this whole puzzle, we have 4 main pieces that are responsible for the success of the project. The first of them is how we're going to think about the design of those APIs. So we understand APIs as products. So from the moment that we identify an opportunity to develop this API, from the moment that we start talking to the business area, it doesn't matter if it's an API for internal use or an API with open innovation focus, then we're going to do the design and we're going to do the whole flow of development until we deliver the project. And it will not be possible just to develop this API. Can we make an experience even worse? Yes, just, deliver a documentation on PDF. So we were so concerned about building a site that would make sense for the developer. The whole experience was thought about in a way that we could present APIs on the same way that Apple presents an iPhone, for example. Another pillar that is very important for us is community. There is no point of us building a whole platform if I cannot create engagement, if I cannot create access. So this platform has the opportunity to present, to create whatever they are doing, hear from the different departments, hear from the IT department how we can build solutions. And that's why ELO supports events just like this one, so we can create this engagement opportunity not only to present our technology, but also to identify new opportunities for the company. And of course, there is no point in offering all of those APIs if I do not give the right support to it. So a little bit later, I'm going to share with you how we would do this relationship. So here, this is our website. All the presentation is done on video, so we're going to have a short video, 3 to 5 minute videos that are giving a business view and technical applications. At the moment that you get into our API documentation, we are concerned of how it works. We want to let you know how is this background of this API from a point of view a little bit more architecture related, so you would understand how it works, but also exploring the documentation a little bit better. So as you can see, we offer a dashboard and you are able to follow up the usage of it, both for get to know more and on the demo area. You are able to see the explanation from the business point of view to understand every single step on the way. And it doesn't matter if it comes from the home or from the API, we always like to present the step-by-step, the minimal knowledge that you need to have this understanding. Once you reach the technical documentation, here, once again, we're going to bring some explanation with a very nice diagram of those attributes. And then we also bring the first steps. How do you create your account? How do you have your subscription? And from here onwards, we're going to have a more technical presentation. And then there's also a sandbox that you can copy and paste the code and test without having to create an account or create an access token, because you are undergoing a moment of experimentation to see if this API will be able to solve your problems. And then only once you create an account, in only 2 steps, you can get your subscription ready. So our technological stack, from the development of the website with the React, but the whole API was developed with graphic KL. So for those of you from the technical point of view, I'd invite you to participate on the talks that are coming in the end of this afternoon. And then here we have Sensedia. And here I'd like to highlight that right at the moment when we started with this project, we had no commercial gateway with the support for graphic KL. So we sat together with the product team from Sensedia and we developed the product with them. And then we were able to launch on a record time this functionality on being active on the gateway. And every single negotiation of service we do on the pay shift, orchestrating that with multi-cloud. Once we explore a little bit better about GraphicL, it brings to us an assurance of how we're going to structure all the information. So the fact that the GraphicL is a very strong typage. So when we're talking about the transaction data, you have the data from the bank, then you have the customer. The customer might have different cards, and then each card has end transactions from different retail places, different stores. You have such a big knot of so many informations. So you should be able to structure that in a simple way that the developer is able to digest all of this data. So if you would consider that on the traditional point of view, you would have to consult 3 or 4 APIs, open 3 or 4 calls to have the minimum of information needed to think about an experience. So we took that in consideration when we are choosing the technology. And having the support of the native graphic KL allowed us to have the legacy APLs to be exported and transformed into graphic KL natively. When we take a look at the graphic KL, we have information regarding the consulting, failure in requisition when we do that in DAT and so on. So all of these is technological resources that the graphic KL brings to us, and it's such a positive differential when we take a look at their competitors. When we think about being engaged and giving support, this explains why events like this one are so important to us. Once we understand how complex it is to develop the token created experience with tacklers, ELO from an event created a kit IoT where you can actually implement and create experience such as Amazon Go using our prototype hardware. So if you have any access to, if you are interested in having access to this kit, I would invite you to access our website and create an account, and then we're going to give you information how you can acquire one of those. And this concern with the experience of who is going to implement it, not only from the business point of view, for us is essential. I want that our developer will have success when he's implementing that. And that's why we hear and we give feedback. So when we take a look at the engagement and support, once again, even though if you have the whole governance procedure, if you have the whole APIs linked, sometimes you stayed locked inside your own world. So one of the very important points that you're taking in consideration is to have a partner. So we have Judson. He is the founder of Brasil JS. It's the biggest event of JavaScript in the world. It's a Brazilian event, and he is part of our development process from the moment that we specify, and he helps us to bring the warranty that whatever we are thinking about makes sense to the final developer. When we take a look for the financial world, there is a series of names and letters that at the first moment will make no sense for them. If I say I see for you, if you're not part of the segment, you will not know what it means. So it's important that from the moment that we design the API, we have to think of who is working on this implementation. So instead of us creating our own forum, we integrate it with Stack Overflow. So if there is any question happening in there, we redirect the access straight to it. And another way to maintain the engagement is to offer the Slack. For those of you that do not know Slack, it's an instant communication tool where we have all of our team connected. So we have any other partner that is having any issues, everyone receives this question, then we're able to find someone who's going to answer. So if we need to make any adjustment or any improvement, then we take that in consideration on our meetings, and then we update our log to develop that. So for examples of codes, we use our GitHub. Once again, there is no point of offering my repository because they are already on GitHub, so there is no point of coming up with something that already exists. Once again, events for us, this relationship is so important. So we are the sponsors of national initiatives, for example, Masters. There's a developer hub, which is a co-working house for free events. So we sponsor this space. Every single channel from communication and articles, we give the support for events, more technical for user experience. This is so important for us, not only to do the internal development and be engaged with our areas, but to understand what the marketing asking for. Our strategic partners, without them, we would never be able to be successful in our implementation. So right from the working code, from the moment that we took this decision to rethink the whole onboard experience, and I think even with a very interesting case to share with you, when we were drawing the portal, we had a demand from the CTOs that the large amount of departments that offer financial API will not give a dashboard where we were able to view a requisition by a requisition. And this would create some difficulties. So we took that home. Once again, this was not a functionality from our products from SimCity, and they promptly supported us, and we were able to develop that in record time. But there's a very interesting point when talking about usability. From the moment that we created this dashboard with all those consulting informations, we had some green bars and red bars saying had requisition successfully attended or with issues, and we developed a few developers to be with us as part of a tool that would help us to develop the sprints until the final launching. So people would say, hey, I'm not understanding this graph. They're like, no, it's not that clear. No, it is. It's success or failure. And he said, no, sorry, I'm colorblind. And then we thought, oh, this is true, got to think about that. So we changed the whole experience for those that are colorblind so they would be able to consult it. And that's why it's so important to interact with everyone. And then when we're thinking about a digital product, you should consider those things as well. Red Hat has also been a great partner, helping us out with structuring microservices, escalate that for the multi-cloud, giving us a condition to serve more than our 18 million of customers. And NASCI, as I mentioned, has been an essential part right from the beginning of the development of API. So Gabriel is on our stand. So is Devi talking to Devi? If someone would like to discuss bid with us, then we're going to discuss bid with them. There's no point of just logging into the website. We are here for that. So once again, just reinforcing our message, ELO is a 100% Brazilian brand. This is our differential. We would like to stimulate the developers. So this case is exactly about this opportunity that we have to be with the developer, to give priority to the development of technology, not only for the APIs, but for public APIs through the developers. We present that on our researches, on our surveys. Do not present only from the technical point of view. Think that someone from the business department is going to access your website and they need to make a decision before they go onwards. So even on the keynote from today, we talked about how you communicate, how you create this engagement, and how do you keep this development marketing. You need to incorporate that. Everyone should play a role on that. And having this direct channel with the developer, being part of the Slack, not only someone from the business, but for someone from the technical area, but everyone together. That makes the whole difference when you have a crisis to overcome, when you have a difficult moment going on, everyone is connected, and then you are able to give the support, if not instantly, but in a very short period. And the experience in this sense is so good. When I was evaluating other competitors, or let's say other references from the API, I sent an email and it took me maybe 3 to 5 days waiting for an answer. And I was sitting down just waiting for that. So it's so frustrating from the developer point of view. There is no point of you just putting in a contact email. Think that someone is implementing their API right at that moment, and you need to give them the right support. So in summary, I think it's quite important to stimulate the usage. As Kleber has mentioned right in the beginning of the event, the public APIs are still a low percentage comparing to the private APIs or for internal usage APIs. But at ELO, we understand that at the same time that I'm serving the external public, we should attend to the internal public. So we take this concern regarding the documentation, the examples exactly the same way. For us, public is public. There is no point of doing a better documentation for internal usage or a simpler documentation when we're going to be using that internally. So we have to take that message home. I recommend you to use graphic KL. I know that here in Brazil we do not have a lot of cases in graphic KL, but it's a tendency, it's a way with no return. This optimize a lot your performance, or it impulses you to think about your API, because once you create an attribute, this attribute will keep on going on from there forward. So you are obliged about this drawing within your system. Other thing, when you're thinking about graphic KL that I have not mentioned before, is the evolution. When we do the traditional development, you have to do the inverse. You have to let the supply know, look, there's a lifetime span of 3 months. We're going to take that out of air, put a new one. On graphic KL, you do not have that. You can keep that automatically, because once you consult, the return that you have is exactly what you requested for. We do not give back a lot of information that you have not requested. So that's avoid you to break down implementations. And at the moment when you do a new publication from a new attribute, then you have no impact on those that are already implemented.
Unless you do an evolution, but the graphic L has a function that's a methodology of introspection, that when you are changing your application, you're compiling that, it can validate if there was a change for that API, and it gives an alert for the developer. If it was in the traditional way, this person would, and the use of the app would break, because you didn't know that that was being different unless you're going to consume that. So that's some advantages for the graphic L regarding the APA. So you have this tip to take that into consideration. It's not something random. Facebook felt that, developing that and trying to keep apps since feature phone to smartphones in global scale. That was a necessity for Facebook of API's evolution. They have APIs to someone so you can interact with that information. It allows you to work with token. You work with touchless payment and be able to have the virtual card numbers, that you have credit cards that are virtual for experiences to be safer. IoT experiences also. We have the beans table, the first 6 numbers of the card, and with those 6 first numbers, I can tell you, for instance, what is the product of that card. If it's a basic card, if it's a intermediary card, or it's a high-income card. So this can help your implementation to cluster your customers. Even though they bought a product of 5 reais, you can know that that customer needs to have at least 20,000 reais to be able to have that credit card. So it helps you to that cluster. Price for enablers, and we're going to open our stock of transaction. When there's someone authorizes you to check the history, you can work with that data to build a different experience for him, as APAs with data insights that can help you to give market information to improve your experience. Another tip, go to our Slack so you can know new APIs, new publications. Soon we're going to have an event, so if you want to do that, follow that as from the technical view, the business view, or participate, I invite all of you. I think that's it. So now we're open to questions. Thank you very much.
Som. Alô? Opa. Galera, pergunta.
Is there any questions? We can take the microphone to you. Good afternoon. Congratulations for your presentation. Was there any requisition to use GraphQL to make that decision to use that? What was the main factor to make that decision? Actually, when we asked for some advices, everyone said to use REST. They didn't want us to create anything. We want to use the traditional, but with the traditional, we don't move forward. We just change places. So it was a technical decision. There was an impact on product, on drawing, or something as the size that we developed was not easy. Our Sensedia architect suffered a lot. He worked late nights with us, but it was important to the point of view of the developer to give an experience where this person maybe wouldn't need to. I think that's the second keynote who saw that. He reinforced that, showed the SDK for to use Python, Java, JavaScript, and different languages. How long does it? Should invest to create that? In the GraphQL, it's a standard library. There's a community there to do that, so we don't need to be worried. I need to draw the API to publish and to keep that standards. So that for us was fundamental. The point of view of the developer, people with GraphQL who had an experience with that was important. So we want to produce articles and videos explain for those who never use how it is and what are the advantages, why it is nice to use GraphQL. Any other question?
GraphQL com certeza está no topo das perguntas, né? Toda vez que eu tive que falar, o pessoal...
Good afternoon. This portal solution, the platform, is something that you developed inside your home or something because of the market that you adopted? What's the effort to keep that updated with your APIs, documentation? What's the strategy that you follow? Sensedia provides a portal that is ready, and we decided to not use that. We took that down and said, no, let's start from scratch. How the portal should be for the developer. But we took that decision, and I cannot create a lot of things in the middle of that. So one of the reasons of using Sensedia Gateway was to have APIs to manage. So we developed a portal, web app, that's going to use the APIs from the gateways. So that was fundamental, using GitHub, Conca Google, or email and password inside the portal. So it was a decision made from scratch, and the content, we had the CMS headless to manage that. So thinking about the marketing, they were going to update the content. Besides documentation, we did that using SMS. But documentation is nothing worse than you have an API and your documents are out of date. So when we decide to use in GraphQL, there's a process where we get the drawing of the GraphQL. We run a function that's going to be upload the documentation automatically to the portal. Because our portal, there's a standard to exhibit that in a different way. Going back to GraphQL, as I said, there is a methodologies of introspection. It returns what you need to consult. Something returns the documentation. So we have GraphQL, some editors that api.elo.com.br, you can create the documentation you can use. So GraphQL gives you that advantages, and in the website we use the structure, the language, so we could generate documentation in the portal. Thank you. Is there any other question? Actually, I would like to ask you something. You're talking about the concept of the project, and we are there in the daily routine taking the next steps. What do you think that's the next big step for you? I think that our next big step is the relationship with the ecosystem. to empower our partners. So nowadays, ELO has a strategy to get closer to startup ecosystem to build those solutions. So that hardware is a result of that relationship. API is a mean. We want to build those final products to help an experience as a whole. So that for us is the fundamental. And the evolution, the governance process. When we started, the way to make an order, we would make an order, and now we have a process to capture that, a security process, development process, how this is going to happen. There was an evolution of the architecture and the process as a whole, as we had the maturity. When we launched that in November of 2017, from now, that was an amazing growth. No other questions? That's nice. Thank you, Davi. Again, a round of applause.